Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to all the students and Probin San, heartiest welcome to SNRC. Thank you so much for accepting our request and addressing the students today. Good morning, all. This is Ashwini. I'm part of the admin team from Sakura Nihongo Resource Center. As you can see on the screen, we have the schedule for the day for today's webinar. So we'll start, with a quick introduction. I will be introducing you Probin San today. And also post that my colleague Ramasan will be handling the brief introduction of SNRC. And I will hand it over to Probin San for the further talk. And first of all, a very good morning to all the students who have joined us today. It's really heartening to see that you have all taken up the time on your weekend, being a Saturday and attending. And I'm sure and I hope that you take back a lot of inputs from Probin San today. So thank you all. And apart from the schedule that we have shared, a small request from our end. We request the students to maintain the decorum in the webinar today. Please place yourself on the mute. Post the webinar, there will be an opportunity given for all the students to just type in your queries in the chat box. It will be addressed by Probin San. And also at the end of the session, post the session, we will be sharing a feedback form, a link for the feedback form. We would request the students to kindly fill in the form and give your feedback regarding the session. Once again, thank you all. So let me start with the introduction of Probin San, who's joined us today. Mr. Probir Das, the Executive Officer of Theramuk Corporation, he being a regional leader, Asia Pacific and India, Chairman and MD, the Managing Director, Theramuk Asia Holdings Private Limited. A warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
Probir Das has been with Theramo since 2012, and he's responsible for running its operations across Asia Pacific and India. In this role, Probir San oversees all of Theramo's business units and functions. He has also 3 decades of medical technology industry experience and has extensively worked across medical, surgical, interventional, diagnostics, infectious diseases, ophthalmology, and nutrition domains. Uh, Given his keen interest in policy shaping, he is actively engaged in advocacy as director on board for Asia Pacific Medical Technology Association and also the Medical Technology Association of India. Uh, he was also past chairman of Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries, that is FICCI, FICCI, and also the Medical Devices Forum. And in the past, he has also been the senior vice president of Healthcare Federation of India, that is NatHealth. As the regional leader of Asia Pacific and India, Probir San is spearheading Theromo's investments into these emerging markets for purposeful business strengthening, health system scale up through educational interventions, and cost leveraged manufacturing across several Asian sites. Probir San also has over a decade's teaching experience, specifically around strategy, leadership, development, coaching, and performance management. So, with the huge body of work and vast experience, we will all benefit from Probir San's talk today. And the rest, let's hear from Probir San himself. Again, Probir San, a warm welcome and thank you for accepting our request. Now I would hand over to my colleague, operations in charge, Ms. Rama. Rama-san will be addressing and she'll be taking over further from here. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Hi, good morning all. So already the stage is set. Ashwini-san did a very nice introduction of Mr. Probir Das. We have always we've had eminent people coming and speaking on our Michi platform. But when I interacted with Mr. Probir Das, it was totally different. Down to earth personality, huge amount of knowledge, vast experience, and what all he brings on the table is something amazing. And today I'm sure none of you would feel ki Saturday morning we attended this webinar. Was it worth the time? It will be. You are going to take back lot of inputs from a very experienced person like Mr. Prabir Das. So again, a very warm welcome to all of you. So I am sure that you're going to enjoy and learn a lot in the next 1 hour. So before we get started and hand it over to Mr. Prabir Das, let me just introduce you to SNRC. What are we all about? Just a second, I'll share the screen. Okay. So we are known as, can everyone be on mute, please? Yeah. So we are known as Sakura Nihongo Resource Center. As the name indicates, we are a core Japanese language services company. So we have been there in the industry for almost 21 years now. And you have been catering to individuals and corporates with Japanese language services. So 21 years of exclusively being into Japanese language services, catering to individuals and corporates. Corporates, we've been doing loads of things. You know, we work very closely with the corporates with variety of Japanese language services, what we cater like trainings, translations, interpretations, bilingual placements, so on and so forth. So as you can see on the screen, you know, everything is customized as per the need of the corporate, be it trainings, be it translations, that is document translations from Japanese to English or English to Japanese. This program, I think Mr. Probir also would agree with us, ki anyone who wants to down the line work with Japan or Japanese should have, before the knowledge of language too, should have the culture and business etiquette orientation. So the reason being, before you know that language or you start learning the language, understand their culture. Any land for that matter. You visit European nations, you visit US, any part of the West, you understand them and then start, cultivating your business with them. So that will be a very good way to get started. So this is a very unique program of SNRC where we talk about culture and business etiquettes. How do you do business? How do you get started working with Japan and Japanese? So this is a very unique program which we give out to individuals and corporates. The other one is culture orientation, where we always try to understand what the other person is thinking about us, or how do we ensure that it's a cool business relationship with them. So let the other side also think about us. So we do culture orientation for Japanese too. So we sensitize them with India, the nature of Indians, the way we work, the way we deal with things. So even that is held. And last but not the least is the bilingual placement. So we are not a regular placement agency where any type of placements we do. We only do bilingual placement. So you have to be a Japanese professional, I mean Japanese language known person with English and your technical skills. So irrespective of what background you're from, we can do placement. So list of corporates where we have been working, as you can see, core Japanese companies, the manufacturing, the pharma industry, the IT sector. So there's a mixture of all types of companies with whom we work with. Not only this, we also work with academicians. So there are a lot of colleges who have shown interest in Japanese language, as they feel their students can benefit with the language on their hand. So we, as you can see, Indian Institute of Sciences is one of the premier institutes in Bangalore, which is nowhere in India. IIMs, IITs, you find at least a couple of them across India, but Indian Institute of Science is exclusively Bangalore-based institute, academic oriented one, where we are closely linked with few of the departments there. And other non-engineering and engineering colleges we are linked with. So this is our association with corporates and academics, but we run as an institute too. So loads of people every year, hundreds of people come and learn with varied backgrounds, various age groups, from a 10-year-old young boy or a girl to a top management professional come and learn due to their various reasons. I mean, be it passion, be it a need, a demand for at work. So people come and learn. So these are the reviews, the very organic reviews given by our own students for us. So what do we do? I mean, is it only as an institute, is it that only we cater to the JLPT, what we call it, Japanese language proficiency test? Everyone wants to get certified on that? No, there are a lot of value adds that we give to our students apart from this, like the one you are all in, Michi, which we create awareness to the youngsters about Japan, the type of opportunities that land brings to us, the type of, the what is in vogue now. So all these things create an awareness to not only our students but pan India students from that particular vertical. So apart from that, the culture orientation is, one of the major things which is imbibed in our training, and language seminars, and we are also tied up with few institutes in Japan for higher education in Japanese. So we are the sole representative of these institutes. So our students benefit by, after studying here, they go for higher education there, and then they, get working there. So that's the life cycle they follow. So that's one of the major advantages of learning with us. And of course, bilingual placements, as I indicated, in the corporate services. So I will not take much of your time. We are very active on social media. You can follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or even Insta. So you will keep getting updates about what all activities SNRC does. So I stop my presentation here. Over to Mr. Prabir Das. We are all waiting to hear from you, sir. So first, I would request you to get started with what Terumo is all about yourself first, and then Terumo, and then about the healthcare industry, because we have, majority of our students today present are from the pharma background. I mean, they are studying their B Pharma or M Pharma here anywhere in India. So I would request you to get started with this, and then we'll take up to the next thing. Thank you very much, dear students. Ensure that you listen to him carefully and take a lot of inputs. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Just wanted to confirm if you can see my slides. Can you see my
Not
screen?
at all. I'll just stop sharing. 1 second.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. Now we can see your screen.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. Okay, so first things first, Rama and the SNRC team, thank you very much for having me and giving such a ornamental introduction of myself. I don't know if I even deserve that, but the fact that you have been kind is very touching. Thank you very much. And more than that, more than anything else, actually, I'm very touched that what we have almost 100 students right now, maybe a little more, on a Saturday morning. You have logged in to listen to me, and I'm very, very thankful to you. But at the same time, you're doing, quite frankly, the right thing, because you are in universities, colleges, programs, and they'll tell you a lot, but the best learning or the maximum amount of meaningful knowledge only comes from experience. It doesn't come from the books, or the curriculum can give you a roadmap, but a roadmap is just that. If you don't travel that road, then a map is just a map. So I'm going to, I was a student a long time back, 30 over years back. I tend to be, when I mean a student, an academic student 30 over years back, but I'm a student still. So, feel free to think. Please don't think that you are speaking to somebody very senior, industry leader or whatever. This is a conversation between a bunch of students and another student. Yeah? A student of life, a student of culture, a student of excellence. so we are on the same boat. So quick introduction. I have already been introduced quite in detail, but I have predominantly been in the medical technology industry. My first 20 years in the industry was mostly with American companies, some Indian companies also, but mostly with American companies. And the last almost 10 years, I've been with Terumo, which is a Japanese company. I'll talk about Terumo a little bit later so that you understand where I'm coming from, what kind of company we are. But that's my background. I studied physiology. I don't know if there are any physiology students here. It seems a long time back, but thankfully I get to practice a little bit physiology today, even because I'm in life sciences, healthcare, and medical devices. I live in Singapore. I've been in Singapore for the last 2 years. I live here, and as you can see, I'm crazy about soccer, and till very recently, before COVID hit, I was playing soccer, even now. And I try to keep fit. I try to keep, wellness focused. I have this love for horses, which um, I, I, I had a lot of engagement with horses back in India over the last 2 years. Again, mostly because of COVID in Singapore, I've not been able to continue with that, passion. But once we are on the other side of COVID, hopefully very soon, I should be getting back on horses again, I hope. Plus teaching, mentoring. So I'm available, not so available on social media, but you will find me on LinkedIn. If you want to connect later, please feel free. I'm very happy to, if you do have questions or something that you're doing that is really important to you, and you want a little piece of suggestion or advice or counsel, please feel free to reach out. Now, enough about myself. I'll talk about Terumo Corporation. Terumo Corporation was founded by a scientist, a Japanese scientist. You can look him up. His name is Dr. Shibasaburo Kitasato. Back in those days, in early 1900s, it was almost impossible for Asian scientists to get Nobel Prizes. So we are told that Dr. Kitasato came this close to a Nobel Prize, didn't get it, lost it to Robert Koch. But the whole perspective is not about his Nobel Prize. The fact, I don't want to talk about his potential Nobel Prize loss, as I want to talk about is how noble he was, in a sense that he's a scientist. He was a scientist. He was a medical doctor. He isolated the plague bacillus. He created a whole lot of. He is kind of the universal father of plasma therapy. And come to think of it, today in the COVID environment, we are doing a lot of plasma therapy. So I sometimes think that life goes a full circle. So he and a bunch of other doctors, they founded Terumo Corporation in 1921. Now, in a few days from now, 20 odd days from now, Terumo Corporation will actually be 100 years old. So he founded on 17th September 1921. In 2021, 17th September, Terumo Corporation will hit its centenary. And we were founded. So if you look at Terumo, the name Terumo Corporation, actually it came into being because we started our journey. This company started its journey by being the first local manufacturer of very high quality Japanese thermometers. So what used to happen in Japan those days is that there was no medical devices. Nothing was manufactured in Japan. Come to think of it, when you look at Japan today, it feels surprising that those days they could not even manufacture their own thermometer, right? Which eventually, a country which eventually became one of the biggest manufacturers in the world. So Dr. Kitasato, right after the First World War, he realized that Japan has to become self-sufficient in medical technology, and they started this company to manufacture glass mercury thermometers. And perhaps we are the only medical technology company in the top 20, top 30, maybe even top 50 medical technology companies in the world, which is actually named after a medical device. The name Terumo comes from thermometer. That's how Germans used to pronounce thermometer. And that's how Japanese used to pronounce thermometer, thermometer, and we are Terumo today. So for 100 years, our mission has not changed. We were founded to contribute to society through healthcare, and we continue to do that. We have core values, global core values of respect, integrity, care, quality. I mean, every multinational has these core values. Most of them try to follow it. Terumo is very, very, very integrated to those core values. But I just, you can always go to www.terumo.com. So you will get a whole history on the company. Today, I per se did not want to speak too much about Terumo. And quite frankly speaking, I did not also want to really focus on Japanese culture, Japanese business practice. I really wanted to focus on healthcare, because it would be a shame for me if I lost an opportunity to talk to 100 students and could not attract them to healthcare at a time when both India and the world is in a healthcare crisis and will require very many smart people to come take charge. Yeah. So I'm going to speak a lot more in healthcare, but that's a quick background on Terumo. If you look at, and to be very honest, friends, we will have a lot of time. I'll finish quickly so that we can have open discussion. I came to this talk with an agreement from Rama and SNRC that we will have a dialogue. Yeah, leaders come, they talk top down, they give big gyan and they go away. But if we really can't process what we talk into your questions, your understanding, your queries, your curiosity, then there is no point, quite frankly speaking, there is no point in me talking. So we'd spend at least 15, 20 minutes on Q&A towards the end. So I'll move a little fast, but if at any point in time, if you if you want me to go slow, if you have a specific query, if you want me to go slow, please raise a flag. I cannot see the dialog box, so I'll request Rama to keep a look on the dialog box, on the chat box. If you want me to explain something, I'm very happy to do that. Otherwise, just make a note, because I'll move quickly. Please make a note and we will have time at the end to discuss. So this slide I put together with regard to just giving you a global healthcare outlook. Now, I know a lot of these students, I mean, a lot of you are in pharma, you're studying pharmacy, or you are maybe biomedical engineer. But that when we are in a course, we really don't take a look at the overview, a global overview, the direction, the challenges, the complexities, the opportunities. We tend to look it inside out, wherein what I've tried to do is to give you a more outside in view. Okay. So if you look at the global opportunities or global healthcare, I mean, I personally think, healthcare is evergreen. It will always be required. And there are huge global opportunities in healthcare, but they are not so simple opportunities. They're very complex opportunities, because healthcare is almost, after 100 years of healthcare or 200 years of healthcare, you see people died in India because they couldn't get oxygen. People are dying as we speak in Indonesia because they can't get oxygen. People are dying at home in Japan, a developed country. They're dying at home because they can't get a hospital bed. So clearly, healthcare in its current form has not worked. And clearly, if you look at the next 100 years, it is not right, not moral, not practical to keep healthcare the way it works today, right? So if you look at overall healthcare spending, excuse me, healthcare spending has grown. It continues to grow. 2012 to 2016, global healthcare spending grew 1.3%. If you look at the last 5 years, 2017 to 2021, it grew 4% plus. And now, because of COVID, it is growing even faster, right? But there are huge, what do you call, inequalities in healthcare. In United States, the per capita, per person healthcare spending is almost $11,000 in a year. In Pakistan, it is less than thereabouts of $50. So $11,000 and $50 is the inequality in healthcare. And quite frankly speaking, you know, many of you may not know, after food industry, healthcare is the second biggest industry in the world. I'm not talking about only drugs or medical devices. I'm talking about hospitals, public health systems, every kind of spending, healthcare spending taken together. Healthcare is the second biggest industry in the world. But if you look at food, at about 11, 12 trillion dollars, food almost feeds everybody in the world. I mean, yes, we still have hunger deaths, but we have been able to manage that rather well over the last 50 to 100 years. But at $9 trillion of global expenditure and being the second biggest industry in the world, healthcare has only reached, quality healthcare has only reached 30 to 40% of the global population. So healthcare is broken, right? But if you look at things, have things not improved? Of course it has improved. Life expectancy has improved. More people will live longer. That will create global productivity. All of that is right. But you see, in the past, we predominantly had infectious diseases, TB, malaria. We put some kind of control on that. TB, for the last 100 years, healthcare has not been able to, eradicate TB. It is still there. Today, we have now the dual problem of infectious diseases being stronger than ever, think COVID, and lifestyle diseases also becoming very, very prevalent. Think about obesity, diabetes, heart failure, now mental health. So the whole world is going through this massive, healthcare challenge, right? And to combine with that, the way we live, the food we eat, the sedentary lifestyles, the lack of the need to walk, the lack of the need to climb stairs, there is a huge urbanization impact on healthcare that is making lifestyle diseases more and more prevalent. And to add to that all that complexity, dementia and mental health is already become a $1 trillion disease, right? So we have a whole lot of complexities there, right? We are spending a lot of money, $9 trillion. Now, if you look at the top of the slide, and I'm very far away from you and making a presentation, so I really wanted to make an impact so that you know where you are needed, what you can do. God has given you a human life. How can you make use of that life to do something meaningful? Look at the top end of the slide. Look at the bottom end of the slide. Globally, we spend $9 trillion on healthcare. And yet, this is the bottom of the slide, kind of shows where we are with healthcare in many places in the world, right? So we've got to fix the radar, the agenda, right? Now, if you look at India, I created this preamble of the global situation, but let's come home, let's come closer home. India, I feel, as a global healthcare executive, I still feel India is far more complex than the rest of the world. We have a very efficient private healthcare system, extremely efficient. India's private healthcare system is the lowest cost in the world. You know, when you open the newspapers, when you look at people, civil services society, NGOs, naysayers, don't believe them. They don't know. They are just creating hangama. People say private care is bad, private care is bad. Oh, healthcare is so expensive. If you wanted a cardiac bypass in America or Europe or even in Singapore, you will spend $40,000. For a same quality, if not better quality cardiac surgery, you will spend $3,000 in India. So India is a really high quality, low cost private healthcare setting. The problem in India is not that healthcare is expensive. The problem in India is that healthcare is made to be paid out of pocket. And nobody has fixed that in the last 70 plus years in our independent history. And of course, the current government has launched some programs, universal healthcare, etc. We'll have to see how they do, but that is the track to make India stronger. In a sense that if you know, in India, you are right now, we have 100 participants. And if I asked how many of you have Mediclaim insurance coverage and high level of coverage, I know I would not get a very good answer, right? In a country where to buy a car, we mandatorily have to have insurance, right? We don't have an insurance. We don't have a mandatory requirement to have an insurance for a child when we are becoming a father or a mother, right? So that's the problem in India. The financing is a problem, not the cost, right? The government's healthcare model is transforming from provider to payer. You know, I don't think we can solve the problem of India by opening, 30 more AIIMS or 10 more AIIMS or even 100 more AIIMS, right? The government's job, of course, the government can create more and more healthcare facilities, but ideally the government realizes, and it also realizes that they're moving towards that through Ayushman Bharat, etc., that they have to become an insurance provider. They have to become a payer. They have to become a payer of service than becoming a provider. There is enough capability in providers in India. And lastly, if you look at these massive shifts in India, let me give you an example, right? 1969, man went to moon. Yeah, when the astronauts, Louis Armstrong, etc., when they were walking on the moon, their vitals, you know, blood pressure, all of that, heartbeat, they were getting monitored in Earth from the NASA Command Control Center in Houston, Texas, right? Unfortunately, even today, a patient has to go to a hospital for a BP check. So the technology has not moved from hospital care to home care. And that transformation, thankfully, through COVID, is happening today. And this is going to completely transform healthcare. So if you are coming into healthcare, please come as harbingers of change, or what do you call the transformers of sorts. If you look at the past 100 years of India and plot the next 100 years of healthcare in India, that's not the right way to look at it. Some misconceptions, lots of misconceptions. Private healthcare is bad, you know, it's very expensive, they're thieves. That's huge political influence. That is not true. I mean, there is a bad apple in every box of apple. There are some bad people, but overall, through my experience, I've seen that people do good, right? Then there is this whole, can I ask you keep the background muted, please? I can hear some sound. Thank you. So if you look at quality, people say, oh, you know, if you go for good quality healthcare, it's going to cost a lot. Trust me, like anything else, yes, quality costs more, but lack of quality costs a lot more, right? Physicians aren't concerned about cost. That's not true. Most physicians are very concerned about rising healthcare costs. And there are models, there are mechanisms. I mean, many of you are from Bangalore. You know Dr. Devi Shetty's contribution. Devi is a very dear friend, and his contribution to healthcare is almost legendary. He has created a low-cost cardiac surgery model which the whole world is trying to look at and admire. The future of healthcare is not bleak. The future of healthcare is very bright because we will change healthcare from its current models. AI machine learning will replace doctors. Never it will do that, because cognitive capability plays a huge amount of role. And if you look at, say, how many of you drive, right? And we become reasonable drivers after 30, 40, 50 hours, 100 hours of driving. We get a license, right, to drive. But the driverless Google car has driven millions of miles and still has not got a license to drive alone in a city. Why? Because our evolutionary memory is very long. Yeah, it is not that what can AI do, that it can do, but the evolutionary memory would always be very valuable for a doctor to make that judgment. Of course, enabled by AI, enabled by machine learning, but we will always require human intervention in healthcare. And then blockchain, technology risks. Actually, blockchain is a huge advantage when you look at patient data, when you look at portability of data. Blockchain will play a very, very large role in data protection, so on and so forth. So I think while it will change, the contours will change. Now I'll again shift gears a little bit, and Rama told that we'll talk a little bit about purposefulness. You are all students, you're looking at what do we want to do with our career, right? And this is a Japanese concept of ikigai. I'm sure many of you already know that. If you don't, you can look at it, look it up. There are tons and tons of documentation available in the internet on ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese concept of several things coming together to make you both successful and satisfied. It's a combination of passion, mission, profession, and vocation. Passion is what you love doing. Mission is what you love doing. Vocation and profession is what you will get paid for. So when you, imagine Sachin Tendulkar, right? He loves to play cricket and he makes tons of money playing cricket too, which is a beautiful place to be in, right? So what you love and what will pay you. Combine that with what you are good at and what the world needs. So what you are good at, you have a certain skill. And if the world does not need that skill, no matter how much you love, you're not going to get paid too much for it, right? So here is this whole, thing that you love, thing that you would be paid for, thing that you are good at, thing that is required in the world. All of that comes together in passion, mission, profession, vocation to create this concept of ikigai. And quite frankly speaking, if you find a healthcare career, I believe very few people, I'm sure there are some sociopaths, psychopaths who want to kill others, harm others, but generally, most of us are good people, we want to do good. And in that concept, in that line of thought, if you are a well-meaning person, want to do good, and you have the capability, the learning through your pharmacy training or biomedical engineering, or through your engineering skills or design skills or whatever skills you're acquiring to really reform healthcare in India and in the world, that is definitely that the world needs. Today we are sitting amidst COVID. Definitely we don't have any doubt that the world really needs healthcare to strengthen and healthcare professionals. Now, to students, because you are students and because I am a student even after my 30 years of professional life, I'll leave you with 5 suggestions. Suggestion 1 is we all need to be purposeful. Don't do something that does not fulfill a purpose. And people today, the millennials, the Gen Z, you are a lot more purpose driven because, when I was growing up in India, purpose was to somehow find a job, to make sure that my mother had some money at the end of the month. I'm sure part of that remains, but part of that we have made significant economic progress. So we don't really have to bother about whether I'll have whether I'll have food on my table tomorrow. But that said, the goals, the purposefulness of life has to change. And in healthcare, you can combine the career objective of doing well with your life's objective of doing good, right? So I really like this quote from Abraham Lincoln. Somebody asked him what was his religion. He said, when I do good, I feel good. When I do bad, I feel bad. That is my religion. It's simple. It's as simple. It's not, people make it complex, but it is actually fundamentally very simple. So when you want to do well in your career, don't think about security. The growth or the overall growth of India will give you enough security, right? Your intelligence will give you security long term. Short term, you try to fail as much as possible, fail fast so that your experience library grows better. And doing good, please be driven by gratefulness. Gratitude is the biggest attitude. People talk about it, somehow they don't practice so much, but I'm really telling you that if you keep this whole balance of career, of doing well, life, of doing good, failing fast and gratefulness, you will never not succeed. You will always succeed. Suggestion number 2. Healthcare today has a growth problem. Healthcare today has an efficiency problem. And many of you are growth oriented through your generation and efficiency oriented through your engineering training or pharmacy training, so on and so forth. Apply growth and efficiency together. People sometimes think we will grow, we will not look at efficiency. Or we will be so efficient that we compromise growth. So growth would be driven by awareness, access, affordability, changing this whole care continuum of health. Efficiency is all about frugality, productivity, maximization, leverage. How much can I do with how little money? Yeah. So India needs growth and efficiency to come together. The worldwide healthcare problems need growth and efficiency to come together. Growth mindset with frugality, when it comes together, we will be able to change Indian healthcare, right? And quite frankly speaking, you can't find growth. Growth requires investment. And if you're not efficient, we wouldn't find growth. So we can't fund growth. Suggestion number 3. If you look at your career, especially a healthcare career, be very focused on your behaviors. Now, I'm sure many of you know this already. Many of you have read this book, but please, I read this book 20, 25 years into my career, and I realized that this book should have been made a part of my curriculum when I was in school, right? Now, for those of you who have not read this book, or those of you who have not taken it completely, internalized it, or taken it to your heart, please do so. 7 Habits. And this will talk about how you need to be proactive, begin with the end in your mind, put first things first. I mean, there are seven techniques that they will ask you to talk about, practice. And if you could practice, your behaviors would change, right? And why I'm saying this, especially this is important in emerging market healthcare, not just in India. If you look at India, Latin America, Eastern Europe, Sub-Saharan Africa, these are emerging markets where healthcare is broken. We really need to fix it, right? So this will require a system. And you will see that most dominant theories are stupid. Most established theories are wrong, right? So if you challenge those theories through your behavior, through these 7 habits, I personally feel you will gain lots. I don't know why. 1 second. Okay. And my request to all of you is to not let go. No matter how much your professors teach you, they cannot create inquisitiveness in you, and they cannot create imagination in you. When they tell you to do something, please think, what if I didn't do it that way? How could I do it differently? I know I'm corrupting you a little bit, asking you to challenge too much, but please do, because your teachers or somebody speaking to you right now, me, I will not be there in the next 50, 60, 70 years. You will be. So please, I mean, inquisitiveness and imagination builds the world. And number four, there is again a lot of focus today in the business world on design thinking. Again, I would have loved to talk to you for 2, 3, 4 hours on design thinking. I don't have the time, nor do I have the mandate. I'm only showing you glimpses of what I'm asking you to read about. Your universities may not be teaching this. You may not be having coaching on these elements, but please, design thinking 101 is a concept of understanding, exploring, materializing, right? You empathize to a problem, go deep into a problem, empathize, then define a solution, ideate the solution, create a prototype, create a test model, implement, and then fail very quickly. And then till again go into a immersion empathy model. So this is about design thinking. But I mean, one part of design thinking that I would ask you to look, and this will help you to lifelong apply segmentation, targeting, positioning. When you want to solve a problem, you can't solve all problems all the time. You're going to segment, target, position, so on and so forth. And then one is design thinking. The left-hand side of your slide, maybe, we are talking about design thinking. The right hand, we are talking about decision quality. Marry design thinking with decision quality. These are all topics that I'm asking you to use your free time and study more, right? Design thinking and decision quality. DQ is very important. So here we say, what are my choices? What do I know? Am I thinking straight about this? Will I really take action? What is it that I'm deciding? What consequences? So it's a little bit like playing chess with your life, right? Figuring out all the choices, putting them all on different sticky notes and putting them on a wall, and then determining what am I going to solve it through, right? And when you want to solve it through, there are some things that you have to take as given, right? Because you don't even consider, right? You would not go and focus on them because you can't solve them. They're too big or too complex or not your priority to solve. The second piece is what you will focus on. Focus on, and what you focus on, you focus what you will focus now and what you focus later. We can't do everything at the same time. So please do this reading later, and maybe if you ever want me to talk in your institute or whatever, much more longer time, I'm very happy to do that. Today we don't have the time, but I really didn't want to miss out this opportunity of giving these learnings of mine, of how I benefited from design thinking, practicing design thinking, how I benefited from practicing design quality or decision quality with you. Yeah. And lastly, here is a model. It's not my model. It's a McKinsey model of how emerging market solutions are going to be a little bit different from developed market solutions, and how we can go about. So I'm not going to take too much time on this slide. I will leave this. I mean, I hope SNRC, SNRC can share my deck with you. I have no problem if they do it. And if you if that's a problem on SNRC's part, you can reach my colleague Janet. She will be, if you email to her later, she can share her email on the chat box. You can email to her and she will share this model with you. Please read this model again. Understand it's a little bit complex trying to, but if we don't do these 7 things in sequence, yeah, if we don't do these 7 things in sequence as healthcare professionals or investors, we'll not be successful in India or in emerging markets. So those are my 5 suggestions. Now, I'll quickly leave you with a few ethos that I have practiced. really prepare well. I mean, when you are making the first impression, if you are going and creating a network, if you, whether you are writing a blog or you are writing, you've done your homework right, you're meeting somebody, please make sure that you make your first impression count, because you will only get one opportunity to create the first impression. The second time, it's the second impression, it's not the first impression. Be available. So you will see both in Japanese and some European or American cultures, we really dress up, right? And that is not showing off. That's really creating that preparedness and impression, right? Yeah. Be available before time. Be very prepared. When you're going to meet somebody, when you're jumping into a project, do a lot of homework. Preparedness meets opportunity. Opportunity, in 30 years of business, I've realized the opportunity, everybody gets equal. Very few people get unequal opportunities. Some people very unequally get opportunity, but mostly God gives us equal amount of opportunity. Now, some people have advanced prepared to utilize that opportunity. Some people have not. So when preparedness meets opportunity, magic happens. Yeah. So then also in communication, I always say aspire to express, not impress. All things done, no matter how prepared you are, don't try to impress somebody. You express yourself fully. Listen first, talk later. First understand, then be understood. Express, not impress, right? When you think about any plan, as you plan about what to do, equally focus on what not to do and put others at the center of your universe. In Japan, we have this concept of omotenashi, which is really like putting myself behind other people. Other people are more important in my universe. We try to always do good for others first. These are some Teramo values. I'm not going to speak too much about them. You can look up the website, but please, your personal values should be very clear. Take a piece of paper, write down what are your 5, 6 top personal values are, and try to align your career, your job, your projects to those personal values. If you fall too far away from your personal value, you will not gain. And lastly, Japan and India, there is a lot of synergy. There is a lot of healthy trust, respect, collaboration between Japan and India. Japan happens to be one of the largest investors in India. So, your alignment with SNRC should perhaps help you. Japanese are progressively becoming more global because the market in Japan is flattening. And Japan tends to be a very profitable market. So Japanese companies are taking the profits in Japan and investing globally in high growth markets, because Japan is not a high growth market, right? So Japanese are increasingly becoming more and more global, and they therefore really are hungry for global talent, especially emerging market talent, right? And infrastructurally, the need of the hour is India's healthcare really needs to change and scale up. Japan and India is very open. There is a healthcare treaty between Japan and India, and Indian students can choose to work with Japanese companies and use Japan as a work destination. So I'd kind of end there and maybe stop sharing so that, or maybe keep this slide, but bring you up in my screen. I'm very happy to use the next 10 minutes or so, if you have the time, to take any questions or answer anything that I could clarify.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Probir. It was nice. I mean, though you just gave the concepts of how the young students have to be. Yeah. So now I would request the students to put across their questions. You can put it in the chat box. You can put across your questions, and we would request Mr. Probir to respond to the same. We have the first hand rises from, 1 second, please. Oh, sorry. Can we have the first question, please? Rajesh-san, I understand your students want, more number of students wanted to participate, but this, we are compelled by Zoom restrictions. We can have only 100 in this thing. We'll put it on our Facebook. Your students can take it up from there.
So I can see a question which
Yeah.
says, is it important to, is it compulsory to learn Japanese language in pharma field? No, it is not. I mean, I am a corporate officer in one of the largest Japanese healthcare companies in the world. I cannot speak two straight sentences in Japanese, right? I'm not asking you not to learn the language. As with any business, the more you learn, the more you succeed. If you really want to work in Japan, so if I had to go and live in Japan, I definitely will benefit from learning Japanese. And if you are in more technical areas, if your work requires a lot of technical exchange, it is good to learn Japanese, at least fundamental Japanese, but it is not a necessity, right? More Japanese are learning English than Indians have to learn Japanese. I hope that answers your question, Sandeep.
Yeah. Can we have the next question, please?
Mr. Das, can I have one small request?
Yes,
Please.
please.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Das. It was a very nice session. My dean was also present in this session, and she liked it all entire session actually. But very unfortunately, the numbers was restricted by the 100 only. Majority of the students could not join. So she requested, is it possible to be such kind of session, one more session for my students? It could be the good number, and we will arrange as many as numbers at the time. Because what we feel when we are speaking as to the audience, it should have to be delivered to as many as numbers. Yes. Because the recording session could not be the answer question and answer round, So you understand. So one can record in a room and can be posted on a public. But when you are interacting with the audience, such kind of very impactful. It comes up some different sessions.
Very happy to do that. Very happy to do that, sir. I have absolutely no problem.
I would like to request you kindly guide me how to proceed, or can you tell us your?
You can reach out to Rama. Rama will connect you to Janet. Janet is on the call today. Or if you could put your email ID on the chat box, Janet. Janet is my colleague who supports me. She will get in touch with you. Yeah. I'm always there, not just to your institute, any institute, any number of students and any number of discussions. If it helps the students, I'll go till the end of the earth to do whatever it takes.
Even the faculty also can be taken a leverage kind of session and can be explored outside what they're happening.
Definitely.
Ms. Janet has put her email ID in the chat box. You can connect with her, sir, and have it exclusively for your team. Thanks for allowing your students to be a part of this seminar today. We would really look forward. I mean, if Mr. Probir can directly connect and have a talk.
So how many freshers can apply? Because we have limited time. I know Zoom will perhaps disconnect us very soon. So
no, sir, that's not a problem.
It will continue.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's good. So how many freshers can apply for in Terumo? See, we have two kind of roles. We have a very large manufacturing company in Trivandrum. If you can look up Terumo, you will see on the website, it's called Terumo Pen Pal. And there, we have a very large factory. We employ more than 1,200 people. So we take in a lot of engineering freshers every year. So that's where we have freshers coming in. But in our commercial roles, sales and marketing jobs, we do not take in freshers generally, at least in India. We go in for lateral placements, but we have a summer intern and a management training program, which your institute can apply to. So again, reach out to Janet, and she can put your institute, if you are a healthcare focused institute. We have had many interns who have come in, and some of them are working with us now. They came in as freshers, and they're working with us now from these institutes like Goa Institute of Management, so on and so forth, who have a very large healthcare focus. I hope that answers your question. What's your name? Sandeep again.
Sandeep
yeah.
again. Yes, sir. Yeah, students, any questions from your end about how to move further, what to focus, anything you would like to ask Mr. Das?
And I really, maybe, the questions here are more in terms of finding a job. Fine, those questions are fine. But I know sometimes, if I was your age, I was speaking to somebody who's sitting in Singapore, blah, 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 blah. One gets a little nervous asking questions, saying that, so many people will see my question. What if it is not an intelligent one, or maybe Mr. Das will not like it? Please don't hesitate. You can ask me anything at all.
No, sir, here, I would like to interrupt over here. Questions what students are asking, obviously. Can I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the question definitely would students are asking definitely in terms of jobs and all. But what we intend to drive to our students is the skilling of their skills. Skilling or learning is a very important. Right. Jobs will come to their way, but if they will have a skill. So entire focus is to learning from any session in terms of skills, what they can gain within during the period of 3-4 years when that they are doing pharmacy. Yeah. And secondly, you said that there is Trivandrum, you have a facility that is for engineering students or pharmacy students as well?
All kinds of students. I mean, in a sense, it's a manufacturing plant. We have an R&D center. We have a large. We have the world's largest. I mean, not we have the world's largest blood bag manufacturing facility. Actually, is in India. It's a Terumo facility in Trivandrum.
Oh, wonderful, sir. So in that case, it's possible to be students can visit sometimes from Delhi to that place, can see and learn rather than doing some internship or not adding the freshers at the time.
Possibly, it needs a programmatic discussion, perhaps
sure.
with different people at different time. Yeah,
I will request.
Should not.
Definitely.
Product range now, Anupama. For Terumo, the product ranges that we Anupama, can you hear me all right? The product ranges that we have more than 30,000 products, but I'll give you a very brief gist. Our products are distributed across 3 verticals. We have a cardiac and vascular vertical. We have a blood and blood and cell technologies vertical, and we have a general hospital products vertical. So the products that we have in the cardiac and vascular vertical is for cardiac intervention, neuro intervention, oncology intervention. We have cardiac surgery products, heart-lung machines, oxygenators. We have grafts, vascular grafts. We have we have heart sheet, which is fundamentally a stem cell solution, wherein we take stem cells from other muscles in case of terminal heart disease patients and convert that into mesenchymal heart cell. So quite an extensive range. In blood and cell technologies, we make blood bags, we make separation equipment, we make plasma therapy, we make life science solutions, we have, some stem cell solutions there. And in hospital products, these are mostly injection products, infusion products, disposables, equipments like pumps, syringe pumps, infusion pumps, or there's a very large range of products which are used by pharmaceutical companies for pharma packaging, prefillable syringes, needles. Terumo makes the world's finest diabetes needles, 34 gauge. So it's half the breadth of a human hair. So you can well imagine. So it's a very extensive range, but if you look up the Terumo website, you will understand a lot more. Does that answer your question, Anupama?
Yes, I'm really, it's a really wonderful thing.
Wow, you are saying me wow, I'm saying you wow because you asked the question. Thank you. Good.
Hope to meet you soon. We'll be in touch, and more students will in future we'll get benefit out of it.
Certainly. I mean, in the past, and Janet used to organize them, she'll know. I used to dedicate a certain part of my year to going to campuses and talking to people. You know, it's fine, we are talking like this right now, but nothing like going and spending a little time with the students, sitting with them, having chai, listening to them, talking to them. Maybe soon enough we'll be able to do that.
Our pleasure, sir. As the COVID get over.
Certainly, certainly. This too shall pass, yeah. This too shall pass.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Good. I see no more questions, so we will take this as. Let me stop sharing.
Yes.
And come back to the screen.
Great.
I don't know if it is possible for everybody to perhaps enable that, I mean, as many as you want to at least enable your cameras so that I can at least say hello to a person. Yeah. Technology enables us to be at different places and still be together. We should utilize that as much as possible. Yeah. Good. So with that, I really enjoyed. It's not much of a conversation. Perhaps at a later date, someday, we may have a better or more engaged conversation. Conversation needs a little more time, perhaps a little less number of people. You know, sometimes it is good to talk to 10 groups of 10 people each than to speak to one group of 100. Then it becomes a speech-like thingy. But yeah, we'll do some of those later, hopefully. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Probir. It was great, and I think we will surely very soon receive requests from these colleges who have participated today for a talk with them, with their students individually, so that many more can be accommodated, and you know, they will benefit from it better. So we will also support.
You know, one of the things that I would today, you are students, and some of your some teachers are also there, I know, but for most of us, for most of you who are students, you know, I do this a lot, or I try to do this a lot, because when I was a student, nobody was available for me to go and ask these questions to. Nobody, you know, at that point in time, I did not even know. When I was graduating, I did not know what an MBA was. I did not know what options I had. I drifted. And luckily, I landed up okay, you know, reasonably okay. But maybe if I had a little more insight, I could have avoided some pitfalls. Yeah. So I'm doing this for you with only the commitment from you that all of you will do it in the future. Right? I will come to your institute even. I will personally come to your institute if there is an invitation. But provided I get a signed document by 100 students saying that when we get to a position of providing other students with advice, we will provide them with advice. Yeah. So pay it forward. Pay it forward, please. Don't take it easy. Thank you.
Very good piece of advice, sir. I think everyone should think on those lines.
Thank you.
So thank you once again, Mr. Probir, Ms. Janet. Thank you. You know, I've troubled you quite a bit in the last 1 month. So thank you very much for, you know, ensuring that everything is in place and we are able to conduct this webinar very well. And thank you all the colleges, the management and the students to participate in this webinar. And we will look forward for more and more sessions by Mr. Probir Das at your college and with us also. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I mean, the situation is a little alarming throughout the world, and as it is in India. You know, please take care of yourselves. Please stay safe. Practice safe distancing. Wear a mask everywhere you go. We are healthcare people. We have to be more responsible than others. Yeah. And we have, if you are not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. So that's my signing off request. Please stay safe. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, one and all.
Bye.
ग्यारह बजे हैं। हाँ सड़क पे मिली वो। कल विन्नत आई हाथ जोर जोर को बुलाओ भैया या आ जाओ या मैं ले लो की लावा में पल्ले में थे एक साइड थे और लाडिया के से क्या तो एक खेत में लगेंगे और वहां तक पार उतर जाएंगे एक जगह नकाटे बैठ के जोरिया मारे ऊपर ऊपर थे। अब भी हम मैं 2 बार भगा को फिर वहां से पीछे ट्रैक्टर वहां बंद करके इंजन पे ना मैं वाकी ना गया मैं